Hello, salutations everybody, it's me Thales. You're watching to my channel about English language, contents from basic to advanced. Basic videos have explanations in Portuguese, whereas intermediate advanced ones, they are English only. I've been recording videos since the beginning of 2020, so check it out, more than 700 videos available. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel, share the content with the people you know, everybody who wants to study English, as we have an entire complete English grammar course, both basic and advanced ones. Check it out. We have several playlists, so everything is well organized so that you can find the content you want to study. Today is one of those videos in which we read and talk about some topics, some news from the internet. And today is June 10th, right? And we will talk about the lifting of COVID-19 tests in the US, right, for international travel. Give a huge thumbs up if you enjoy the content from our videos. I will leave the link of the news article at the description of this video, all right? Let's get going. Well, today's video, which I will leave the link so you can read, it's from the website AP News, right? It's breaking news. I found out this today in the morning when I was looking for COVID-19 news, as especially regarding COVID tests. I don't know if you are well aware of it. When you travel to the United States, for example, I traveled to the US in April. I had to take a test, right? And if I didn't have a negative COVID test, I wouldn't be able to travel. So that's something that worried me a lot, because I was afraid, oh my God, if I get COVID before my trip, everything is ruined. And just sometime before my trip in April, the US lifted the need to take COVID, not US, but Brazil. Brazil lifted the need to take a test to come back to the country. So it was great news, because tests in the US, they are more expensive, right? Everything in there is in dollars, so the currency there is stronger than ours. So naturally, everything regarding medical expenses would be more expensive in the US. So, summarizing, when I traveled in April, I didn't have trouble to come back to Brazil, but I had problems between quotations, of course, because I had to take a negative COVID test in order to travel. Now in June I will travel again. Yes, on my vacations I will travel again to New York, and this was great news. I have a COVID-19 test appointment, right, for the day of the trip, because the thing is, you have to take a test, right, a PCR or antigen test, one day before the trip. That was a rule. And I was very worried because we came back to work in the office at least twice a week. So I was worried sick that I could get COVID during my going to work and coming back home. So I was taking some extra measures in order to avoid taking COVID. For example, I was going to the office using Uber, right? Going to the office and getting back home. I wasn't getting having lunch, right? Going to restaurants because it's too crowded. So, and wearing a mask all the time. So I was very worried. Now I'm better. I'm feeling better because I won't have to take my COVID test anymore. Although I think I will take the test just to make sure that I am negative. Anyway, so that's the news. US lifts. When you lift something, it means that it's a requirement that is no longer necessary. So it's not necessary to have a COVID. It won't be necessary, right? I guess the White House, I don't know if the CDC, I'm not sure if they have already released formally that they will do this, but everywhere in the press, on the internet, I have this news. So I'm thinking that it won't be necessary. The measure takes place from Sunday, I believe, right? Okay, so I will increase the size of the letter because it's too small. The Biden administration, let me get closer. The Biden administration is lifting its requirement that international air travelers to the US take a COVID-19 test within a day before boarding their flights, easing one of the last remaining government's mandates meant to contain the spread of the coronavirus. I've read some time ago that the travel agencies they were making extra pressure on the government because it's no longer necessary. Of course, COVID-19 is not over yet. I've seen some people saying that, oh, my friend got COVID, my relative got COVID. Okay, everybody is still getting COVID, but the number of deaths is getting is at an all-time low, and people getting COVID, if vaccinated, right? I took two shots and a booster shot. The odds of you going to the hospital or you getting hospitalized and having severe consequences, they are much smaller. People going to the hospital at severe conditions, most of them, they haven't taken a full cycle of the vaccine. They haven't either taken the two main shots or they haven't taken the booster shot yet. Even children, they are taking the third dose, the third shot. My parents, for example, they have taken 4 shots. I've taken 3 shots, 3 Pfizer shots, and I'm still waiting for the possibility of taking the 4th shot. I believe it will be natural, right? Everybody will eventually take the 4th shot, and every year it will be like the flu vaccine, right? You will have to take yearly shots in order to prevent the disease from spreading. Okay, so as I explained, it was necessary to take a COVID test within a day. What does it mean? It means that if you travel tomorrow, you had to take the test at least the day before. Okay? A senior administration official said Friday that the mandate will expire Sunday at midnight, I believe. at midnight, adding that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, right, which is the government agency responsible for health, right, health regulation in the US, determined it is no longer necessary. The official is speaking on the condition of an anonymity to preview the formal announcement, said the agency would reevaluate the need for the testing requirements every 90 days. So my trip is safe, right? My trip takes place next week. No, not next week. Within next, not this Saturday, my trip will be the following one, right? The following Saturday, I will be traveling. So if the conditions for the vaccine get worse over time, they will reevaluate whether it will be necessary to reinforce the measures of having the vaccine, and that it could be reinstated if a troubling new variant emerges. Okay, I don't think it will happen, seriously. I'm optimistic, right? The Biden administration put in place the testing requirement last year, as it has moved away from restrictions that banned non-essential travel for several dozen countries, most of Europe, China, Brazil, South Africa, India, and Iran. So what happened last year, at least most of the year, even if you wanted to travel, you wouldn't be able to, because the US banned flights from many countries, and Brazil was among the countries, and it turned out that tourism was impossible that way. So in the end of the last year, okay, I will open my borders again. People will be able to travel, but they have to take a test, right? And they have to bring proof of vaccination. I believe the proof of vaccination will still be necessary, right? For flights, I have the proof of vaccination. An international proof of vaccination will be required. But the test, the COVID test, to go, it's no longer necessary. And to come back to Brazil, it wasn't necessary anymore since around April, right? Instead, focus on classifying individuals by the risk they pose to others. Okay, it's more reasonable, I believe. It was coupled. I don't know how to speak couple, because this is coupled. I will check the pronunciation of this word. Sometimes I have some doubts about the pronunciation. I highly recommend that when you have doubts how to pronounce a word, you type the word on Google and you check it out in dictionaries, such as Oxford Languages. Coupled. Right, it comes from couple, right? Coupled. It was coupled with a requirement that foreign non-immigrant adults traveling to the US need to be fully vaccinated, with only limited exceptions. So, for example, I am a non-immigrant because I'm traveling for vacations, right? I will stay 1 week there and then come back. It will still be required to take the vaccine. If you don't take the vaccine, you won't be able to travel. There are some exceptions. If you won't open the CDC website, you may be able to find some exceptions in there. But people who don't want to take the vaccine, they won't travel to the US. Impossible, right? The initial mandate allowed those who were fully vaccinated to show proof of a negative test within 3 days of travel. I remember that in the beginning it was within 3 days, and then they changed, right, the rules. Unvaccinated people had to prevent a test taken within 1 day of travel. That was an initial mandate. In November, as the highly transmissible Omicron variant swept the world, the Biden administration toughened, right? To tough, it means to make more strict. Toughened the requirement and required all travelers, regardless of vaccination status, to test within a day of travel to the US. And that was what I had to do in order to travel to San Francisco, right? In April. Yeah, I believe that there was a risk of my trip not happening if I tested positive, but yeah, thank God everything turned out to be okay. Airline and tourism groups have been pressing the administration for months, right? I have read some articles regarding this in the last few weeks to eliminate the testing requirements, saying that it discourages people from booking international trips because they could be stranded overseas if they contract the virus on their trip. And not only that, a trip to the US is expensive, right? A trip to anywhere that is far. But to the US, I believe it's more expensive than before because of the currency, right? The exchange. And you plan a trip, you buy the flight, you make a reservation at the hotel, you buy all the things that you buy some dollars to travel because it's necessary, right? To buy the currency from there. And then when it's getting closer to the trip, you realize that you have COVID and you have to postpone the trip. It's terrible. And you still have to buy an insurance, right? A health insurance. If you get sick for any reason in the US, if you don't have a health plan or a health insurance, you might have to pay a lot of money. Lots of money. Roger Dow, president of the US Travel Association, called lifting the test rule another huge step forward for the recovery of inbound air travel and return of international travel to the US. Okay, so here we have some numbers, some figures regarding trips to the US. While domestic US travel has returned nearly to pre-pandemic levels, so it went back to normal, right? Traveling around the US. If you are American and you travel to another place, it's like me traveling to Salvador, traveling to São Paulo, right in here, domestic flights. International travel, which is very lucrative for airlines, has continued to lag. In May, US international air travel remained 24% below 2019 levels. So it was very below, it was below the level, right? And the amount of money that airlines had was lower than expected, with declines among both US and foreign citizens, according to trade group Airlines for America. Many other countries have lifted their testing requirements for fully vaccinated and boosted travelers in a bid to increase tourism, right? Brazil has lifted more time ago, and I have seen some news from countries in Europe that recently have lifted the testing requirement. In February, travel groups argued that the testing requirement was obsolete because of the high number of Omicron cases already in every state. So, in the US, we have a high number of people getting infected already. So it's not people coming from other countries that will make the situation worse, right? What makes the difference in this case is to have a higher vaccination rate and new treatments for the virus. And last here, and not least, we have here, I'm glad CDC suspended the burdensome coronavirus testing requirement for international travelers. Yes, I'm glad as well. And I will continue to do all I can to support the strong recovery of our hospitality industry. Right? The Senate member Catherine Cortez Masto said in a statement. So that's it, people. So soon enough I will be traveling, but hopefully I will record more videos along the way. When it gets closer to my last video before traveling, I will let you know. Alright? So next video we will continue talking about grammar, vocabulary, business, whatever, everything related to English. See you next time. Bye bye.